Satsankalpa.
Namaskaram, everyone. Welcome to today's knowledge session on Bhagavad Gita in daily life, organized by Satsankalpa Foundation. Satsankalpa Foundation is a non-profit organization that was set up with the inspiration and principles of Satguru Sri Sivananda Murty Garu. Today, we are honored to have Dr. Prasad Kaipa with us as our presenter, who brings in a wealth of knowledge as an author, keynote speaker, and coach. He holds a PhD in physics from IIT Madras. He's the founder of the Center for Leadership, Innovation, and Change at the Indian School of Business, the co-founder of the TIE Silicon Valley's Entrepreneur Institute, and the co-founder of the Institute of Indic Wisdom, which is a design think tank and research institute established in the US and India. Dr. Kaipa has also co-authored several best-selling books, including From Smart to Wise and You Can Be Smarter and Wiser. Sir, we are delighted to have you join us today, and let's all look forward to an enriching session. Thank you.
Namaste to everybody. Let me start with a prayer. Om Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vitraikapanaye Jnana Mudraya Krishnaya Geetamrutaduhe Namaha. Om. I just want to start by saying thanks for the opportunity to present in Satsankalpa Foundation. I'm looking forward to get to know each of you. And the topic of Bhagavad Gita has been something very dear to me from when I have been a very young child. In the beginning, I just by-hearted it. I tried to use the slokas to learn what I can when I was young. Then, of course, in schools, as I was growing up, the Bhakti Yoga chapter has been something that we used to recite every day in school. But as I went to high school and I went to college, it became something that was a great guide to me. I still have a Bhagavad Gita that I had been using from the time I was in high school. So this has been with me for 60 years. So the same Bhagavad Gita, I use it right next to my bed many times. Whenever I need some help and I'm not able to think for myself and I need some guidance, I turn to this Bhagavad Gita. I look up and various slokas that come to me, either they give me peace of mind or they give me clarity about whatever has been on my mind. And it has been, without fail, very, very helpful to me so far. So when I talk about Bhagavad Gita in daily life, I'm really referring to Bhagavad Gita that I have been able to put to use every single day. Some of the things which I want to talk to you about is how Bhagavad Gita can actually become a partner. There are three ways in which a partnership can be provided. Of course, my spouse and my family are partners in living my daily life. Those are people whom I rely upon. As I mentioned, Bhagavad Gita as a daily reference, I mentioned it already. But the key thing, what I felt was, it has been like Krishna in what he taught to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. When I apply it to myself, when I am able to think about how Krishna can guide me in my life, my Kurukshetra, in my context has been something that has been very, very meaningful. In some respects, I feel reading Bhagavad Gita, learning and trying to work with it as if it is my psychology textbook, it is my, what you might call a daily reader in the leadership, or if I want to look at a ready reckoner for coaching or teaching, it is as if I have a friend in Krishna who is not just awakening Arjuna from the stupor that Arjuna was in. He is able to wake me up. And I have a feeling, if you are interested, Krishna can also wake you up as a person who can fully recognize and realize your potential and act as Arjuna, who is within you, the Nara within you. And ultimately, hopefully, when we operate from the Arjuna consciousness in our own Kurukshetra, ultimately we might even be able to recognize the Nara plus the Narayana part of it also in us, and hopefully the Krishna in us will also can be awakened. That is what is the possibility. So there are three potential ways in which you can apply what I'm going to talk about in your daily life. One of the things, obviously, how you can apply this would be to think about it in terms of the gaining clarity and direction in life. As I mentioned, in many different ways, you can look at Bhagavad Gita to be a ready reference for day-to-day life. Out of that, you can find your purpose, you can find your dharma, you can find clarity. Second takeaway I would like you to get from this presentation, and I would like to make it interactive as we go forward, is one of the key things which no other text has provided, but Gita has been very useful, is to understand gunas, the three gunas, sattvika, rajasika, tamasika gunas that Krishna talks about, and how we can use them to assess oneself. I have developed an entire instrument based on it, and that is something that you can use. The third one is how Gita can be used in applying it in your own leadership and in helping other people to be a leader, and how you can coach yourself and other people in coaching. And finally, it is not just coaching and any of them, it is also to help us to really work with our mental wellness. It is to work with wherever, whatever issues that you can take on, you can look at. We have been working on something called Our Gita project, where we apply Gita along with 20 to 30 other people. We are actually doing something very interesting and very meaningful in a day-to-day basis. We will talk more about that. So when we go to the next slide, in the next slide, we talk about objectives. So the three things which we talk about. Can you go to the next slide, please? So my experience, I want you to take away. Even if you don't take away any of the individual and specific kinds of things which I'm talking about, I want you to think about Gita as an effective guide to live a meaningful, passionate, purposeful life. And this is not just for Hindus. This is not just for older people. This is not just in India or in United States. Anywhere, anybody, anytime, they can use this as something that will be very, very effective. Okay, next slide, please. The first and foremost reason why I believe it gives clarity and direction in life is because dharma, what it means in a daily life is something that Bhagavad Gita really talks about. As we know, when people talk about, is there one holy book that you use for your life in Hindu context, we generally talk about Bhagavad Gita being one such book. So, Bhagavad Gita gives us a clarity about what is dharma. Of course, dharma has got multiple meanings in various ways, but for this particular situation, because Krishna talks to Arjuna about what is his duty, what is his responsibility as the warrior, and as he also becomes the Senadipati, he becomes the commander-in-chief for the entire Pandava army. He has the duty and responsibility to lead Pandavas to victory, the victory of dharma over adharma. In this particular context, in the second way, in you look at, dharma also means what is right, what is appropriate, what is the way in which the righteous people live and practice their life. That is the second meaning which you can look at. But in a simple, in the Western context, you can look at the dharma as also legal, but more importantly, ethical order. That is the way in which we can think about. But of course, dharma changes based on the role that we play. So, for example, if I'm talking to my spouse and my kids, I have a householder dharma. I have a way in which, as the head of the household, I have a certain dharma that I need to follow. And that dharma is going to be very different when I look at when I'm talking to students in a college, or when I'm coaching one-on-one with a CEO or a senior executive. Then my dharma is going to be very different from my dharma as the householder. Here, dharma as a coach is very different. Then when it comes to my own decisions, how I live my own life, then I need to look at what is my swadharma. I have to really become very clear. So that means dharma can be very different in different situations, and becoming clear about who am I being in this context, what is the role that I need to play. Then once you get clarity about who am I here, then what do I do becomes extremely important. Other one you need to really recognize is, are you clear about what role to play when and with whom? I think that is the first and the foremost important question that you need to pay attention to, because if you want clarity and direction in your life, you need to gain clarity about who you are and what is your role, and how what you say, what you think and feel, what you do, are they aligned with your dharma? When you can think about these questions, first, these what you call a trikarana suddhi, kaya, vacha, manasa. Am I actually aligning the mind, the heart, and the actions? And do I know who I am and in what context am I playing? Bhagavad Gita says things become very clear. Can we go to the next slide, please? So, first and foremost thing, when I want to gain clarity and I want to know what my role is, question it comes to is, what is my purpose in life? Whether it is in United States, whether it is in India or anywhere in the world, after the COVID, especially with the economic and the polarized world that we live in, many people ask the question, now that I'm completing my education, or now that I have spent so many years in this company, what is it that I'm doing next? What is my purpose in life? Should I become an engineer? Should I become a manager? Should I become an entrepreneur? Should I become a farmer? Should I pay more attention to my family? Should I pay more attention to work? All of these are some things that become very important sometime or other. So it is not the vision of life, but asking myself the purpose in life becomes extremely important. Again, for finding the answer to purpose in life, find out who is asking the question first. Because based on the role that you play, not only who you are, what role you play, the action that you need to do changes. If you notice, the word for action in Sanskrit is karma. Of course, many of the people who have grown up in the Hindu way of life, Indian way of life, they use karma as not just action, karma as the fate. So to a certain extent, your action determines your fate. Your karma changes based on the role that you play and the action that you do. And based on the karma, both the action that you take now and action that you have taken before, which created the kind of karma that you are experiencing, the direction of your life changes. Next slide, please. So, how do you discover the purpose? The Bhagavad Gita says, live your dharma. Most important part of what it is you need to pay attention to how you can contribute your strengths to other people in the world. That is what dharma is all about. It is not about my purpose. What is my purpose doesn't answer the question, what is it that I want in life? Like somebody said, that fruits on the tree are not for the tree to enjoy. The way in which the tree propagates is by giving the wonderful sweet fruits to other people who will take the fruits from the tree, go wherever they go to their house, go to their town, go to, different parts of it, eat the fruit and throw away the seed. And that seed, when it goes and spreads in various parts of the world, and when it goes into the ground, then that gives rise to next tree. So in some respects, if you want to fulfill your purpose in life, by you contributing, by serving other people, then you will be able to live your purpose fully, meaningfully, and you will do what is your dharma. In some respects, Bhagavad Gita's answer to finding your purpose is, if you want to know what your purpose is, first of all, find out what is your dharma and what is your swadharma, not just for other people, but also for yourself. What is the dharma that you need to live by? The most important that we need to remember in this context is swabhava, the nature with which you grow up with, you become comfortable. Your true nature is different from your dharma. That means if you say, oh, I'm very comfortable doing this, I'm very good in doing this and I like doing this, doesn't necessarily mean that is your dharma. Your swadharma many times is very different from swabhava. As we go later into the presentation, we will talk about how your swabhava is formed out of the three gunas, sattvic, rajasic and tamasic gunas. Those are the ones that different ratios of these three gunas will develop your swabhava, but your swadharma is to wake up from the conditioned state of mind, discover truly what is your dharma, how you with your unique strengths and capabilities, how you can serve others, how you can serve the world. When you truly discover that, then you will know your Swadharma, and then you will learn how to live your Dharma. Next slide, please. So, when we talk about living your Dharma as something that you are operating from and you are contributing to other people, it is extremely important to recognize that to do that, you need to be what you might call the agent of positive change. So, to a certain extent, when you act positive, when you are hopeful, optimistic, and when you think about your future, that means you are operating out of your vision rather than your current reality in corporate context or in the world that you live today. The traditional business language they use is it will increase your brand value. That means, in the Silicon Valley, we call it will increase your buzz. Other people will think that you are very important. That means more you help others out of optimistic, visionary, hopeful future, you will be able to be very helpful to other people in your life. So, in some respects, what it means here as the agent of positive change, this is not in the context of, this is not the dvandva of positive and negative. No. The way in which Gita talks about being an agent of positive change means wholly positive. That means come from a perspective that there is a lots of possibility into which I live. Not just in Bhagavad Gita. When you look at Upanishads, we talk about the creation has occurred out of Leela. So one metaphor, if you look at one of the suktas we talk about, when the Brahman is looking at all being Brahman itself, it decided the Brahman wants to play, wants to have fun. For its Leela, it split itself. That is one way to think about how the universe came into existence. So, of course, Sankhya talks about then the Prakriti and Purusha, or you can talk about there was a heaven and there was earth, or you can talk about it as first there was only possibility, Akasha, the space represents that possibility. So you can talk about, in one of the Upanishads, they talk about Akashad Vayuhu, Vayoragnihi, Agnerapaha, Atya Prithvi, Prithivya Voshadivyonnam, Annat Purushaha. So they say, first there was a possibility. That possibility showed up as infinite space, Akasha. From that Akasha, there was a spark, like a vision, there was a light. And that light, before that light came, there was a movement in that Akasha. That movement is the Vayu. From there, there was a fire, there was a vision of something. That vision gave certain movement in towards that light. Agner apaha. From there, there was a flow in the consciousness. That flow of consciousness is like that became the water. And that water moved towards the future, and it solidified somewhere and it became earth. And in that earth, there were Oshadi. Even the roots, even the trees, everything we talk as if it is actually, these have medicinal properties, healthy things, and those gives rise to trees and fruits, and from all of them, human being came about. So all of this is visionary, positivistic, it is hopeful, it has got something about creating the future. So a big difference, the Gita's vision, actually the Hindu vision differs even from the Buddhist vision or Judeo-Christian vision in the world, is that number one, you live into the future. You live into the possibility. And how you live into the possibility? By you becoming the hopeful, visionary agent of change. That means you are creating the world into which you live in. So, more hope you have, more positivity you have, and then your action as it becomes yagna. What does it mean? In third chapter, he talks about whatever action you do it as a spiritual act, as if you are doing worship through yagna. So everything you do it as Krishnarpanam, you say it and say, I'm doing my best. This is what we will talk about, Nishkama Karma. You doing your action as your contribution to creating the future. When you do it, not with an intention to get some result back to you right away, when you do that kind of a nishkama, without any desire for yourself, just like the tree gives the fruit for the benefit of the humanity, when you do that action, then you become the action, you become the agent of positive change.